How's everybody doing today on this Saturday? You know me, it's the big guy. This is going to be the first of a series of videos called Football 101. The NFL, or National Football League, has been around since 1920. Football has been played in this country probably since at least maybe 1875. The game looked a lot different, but over the years, through people innovating and coming up with ideas, the game has changed a lot, but still the core concepts are the same. But like I said, this series will just help us outline things for the new fan who, like I said, may not understand how the game is played.
Yes. It is what it is, Big Mountain. I tell you, this is the Don in the house. I'm also in the house with the big guy himself. No mess around, the big guy's here. Let me bring it down a little bit. Thank God it's Saturday. Fantastic. The Don is here himself. It is what it is. We also having a guest in the house. Fantastic guy. Dylan is ready. How you doing, big guy? What's up, bro?
Doing pretty good there, Yummy. How about you, bro?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. No messing around, big guy. We got to do this.
Yeah, so we're going to keep on breaking. Back up in the AFC North. We've got a guest on the show today. Good friend of mine named Dylan. This guy really knows his football. Even if he has the misfortune of being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but, I digress. We're going to have a good time. I think it should be a fun conversation. So, everybody, thank you for tuning in today. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment. I think we're going to have a fun show today. Like I said, we're going to have a guest on. He'll be joining us momentarily. So, I think it's going to be a good one. Hope everybody's weekend's off to a good start. It's already pretty hot outside here in the Baltimore area. So, everybody make sure, stay cool, stay in the air conditioning if you can. Have a cold drink. So, with that being said, we are just waiting on our producer to bring in the guest, and then we can get started with this show this week. But, it's going to be a good one. And there's the man himself, Dylan.
Hey,
what's going on, brother?
Mike? What's up, my man? How you doing?
And I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you?
I am living the dream.
All right. Yeah, so definitely glad to have you on the show today. Like I was saying, last week we basically covered the AFC East. I started into the AFC North, which I know that you know that division extremely well. So, how much longer is the music going to be on? The AFC North, I know that's your domain. So, as soon as this music is out of here, I think we're going to get started. All right, there we go. So, welcome to the show. I'm the big guy. I know you know me as Mike, but I am the big guy. So, we're here today. You ready to talk some football?
I am always ready to talk football.
Fantastic. That's what I love to hear. So, like I said, I got into the AFC North last week. I did talk about the Bengals, and I left off at the Browns. And basically, I'm looking at the on NFL.com. They highlighted a couple games for every team. And a couple games they highlighted for the Browns are the Dolphins in Week 10, the Bills Week 11, and the Bengals Week 14. Which one of those games catch your eye?
Honestly, for me, it's probably the Bengals. I mean, it's always going to be a tough divisional game, especially the way this division plays. I mean, this is one of the divisions that always plays each other well. But I think a lot of it depends on who's going to be starting this year.
Sure. So, oh yeah, absolutely.
They have 3 strong options. I mean, obviously, we don't know. Deshaun Watson's still up in the air right now, but you still have Baker and Jacoby Brissett to fall back on, who both have starting experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could have worse quarterback situations than that, regardless of what people say about Baker Mayfield. But yeah. So let's just say going in that Deshaun Watson, is the starter. What do you think? How do you like Cleveland's chances of trying to, really with the whole division? I mean, the whole division is going to be they're going to fight each other to the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Deshaun Watson starting, I think that really puts some light on this division. I mean, because you have you have the Steelers, who are a very young, inexperienced team right now. You got a team like Baltimore, who had their injury issues last year. And I mean, Cincinnati, they're just coming off that AFC Championship or Super Bowl loss. I mean, that's a big block you're going to have. I mean, I think they're going to run into some issues, but I think Cleveland can kind of turn that around, and I think they can get themselves into. I think they could potentially have an 8-8 season, or an even season.
Okay, so now that we have an extra week, I guess maybe 9-8 possibly. Now that they have an extra week to the year, maybe.
I think maybe. I think they still lose to Cincinnati twice.
Okay.
I think Cincinnati beats them two times, and I think they split their series with Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. I mean, the Bengals did. I think their Achilles heel last year was that awful offensive line. Burrow got sacked the most in the NFL, but if anybody's been paying attention to offseason, they brought in 3 new starters on the offensive line. So the Bengals seem like they're not trying to be one and done. They're trying to get back to the Super Bowl and win it this time.
Yeah, and I think they have a very good opportunity to do that.
Yeah, appreciate the insight with that because, like I said, I know you know this division better than probably anybody I know, you being a Steelers fan. So, yeah, it's just going to be a drag-out kind of situation. So, with that being said, next we have your beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. Last season, 9-7-1 AFC North, finished second place. And, of course, they're going to have to play the Bengals. That's week 1. That's a big matchup. I like this week 5 matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Maybe Mitchell Trubisky can give them a little insight on what the Bills do. Maybe he can help get them prepped for the game. What do you think?
I think that will be a very, very good game to watch. The only issue I have is, like I said, the age on the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have, because more than likely, Kenny Pickett will be your starter week 1.
Okay. So you're rolling with Kenny Pickett over Mitchell Trubisky. You think he's going to beat him out?
I think it'll be very tight, but I think he'll end up beating him out. Worst case scenario, you could see a San Francisco 49ers situation. And the same thing happened to Mitchell Trubisky when he was in Chicago. He plays a couple games, doesn't perform, and they bring in this new guy.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I know Kenny Pickett, just seeing like the competitive guy he is, he's not going to sit behind Trubisky quietly. So any opportunity he gets, I know he's going to go in there. But Buffalo, I'd have to say on paper, you might have to say they're the favorites in the AFC this year, in my opinion. I mean, I know the Chiefs are still hanging around, but they've had some turnover with Tyreek Hill leaving, and I take the Bills as the number 1 team in the AFC. I don't know if you agree or not, but that's who I'm rolling with.
I think I think it's tight. I think you take, like you said, those extra 3 guys that Cincinnati brought in on their offensive line. I think that starts to even the playing field.
Yeah.
But if you're talking overall, I mean, Buffalo has that defense. They have that, arguably the number 1 defense in the league.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they brought in Von Miller. I don't expect him to come in there and have 15 sacks, but if he can come in there and get somewhere around, maybe 10 to 12 sacks and maybe, force some fumbles and just be a veteran presence, I think that defense is just going to be all the better.
Yeah, I mean, I think he also brings in a veteran factor. I mean, he's going to bring some fire into that defense, and he's going to bring some leadership in. He's played for some very strong teams, and he's played against most of the quarterbacks in the league. He knows what he's doing. Like, he knows what he needs to do.
For sure, yeah. Former Super Bowl MVP, one of the greatest pass rushers of our generation. So, yeah, I definitely think he brings a lot to offer, to the table for the Bills. So that Steelers-Bills game will be interesting. We'll see how far along these young guys are for the Steelers and see where the gap is in terms of talent. But I think that should be a fun one to watch. And then finally we come to the Baltimore Ravens here in the AFC North. You know what? Actually, I did cover the Ravens, but I want to hear your perspective because, like I said, that is your division. They have a couple interesting games against Week 4 Bills, Week 8 Tampa Bay, and Week 13 Denver. Which of those games would you be most interested in seeing?
I think Buffalo, and I really think Denver. I think that Denver game is going to be a very good game to watch. I think if this Ravens defense can recover and come back from those major injuries they had last year, I think seeing them go up against a guy like Russell Wilson is going to be phenomenal to watch.
Oh yeah, and plus the old versus the young. I mean, Russell Wilson still doing it, but age is definitely not on his side as opposed to Lamar Jackson. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that's going to be a pretty electric game to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the Ravens have a very good chance of challenging for that number 2 spot. I still think Cincinnati holds that number 1 spot in the division right now.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, Ravens did make some good. They had another great draft as they always seem to do. I mean, they got Kyle Hamilton, the best. A lot of people viewed as the best safety in college football, and he was there at number 14 for them. And then they got a starting center in the first round. They got back into the first round just by trading, a 3rd round pick and Hollywood Brown, who wanted to be out of there anyway. I thought that was a no-brainer, and they got a starting center. So I think the Ravens, offensive line should help that running game that's recovering from injury.
Yeah, and I think honestly, taking Marquise Brown out of the conversation, I think definitely helps them. He wasn't a huge target for Lamar Jackson because he was your typical Ravens wide receiver. He would run 30, 40, 50 yards down the field. He's going to beat anybody, but Ravens have always had those quarterbacks that can throw the ball that far. Now they're changing it up a little bit. They got Lamar Jackson out here who can throw the ball, but he's a big one on the run. I mean, he knows what he needs to do, and I think that kept Marquise Brown out of the equation a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Super, athletic guy. I mean, he's got wheels, like you said, but just with that offense they were running, I just think it was never a good fit. And I think the problem has been also their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, who I think just got into such a lucky situation when Lamar Jackson got drafted and came out and dominated the way he did because, they kind of dumbed the playbook so down just to fit his skill set that really you don't really take advantage of a lot of the other players they had that could have possibly contributed on that offense.
Yeah, I mean, they were blessed. I mean, they lost Joe Flacco. Big loss for them, but they bring in a guy like Lamar Jackson who just bolsters their run game. I mean, especially a year like last year when you have your number 1 and number 2 running backs go down for the season.
I think it was their top 3, wasn't it? I mean, what was it? You had Gus Edwards, you had Dobbins, and then I think Justice Hill also was out for the year. So they didn't have anything left on the roster essentially, except for.
I mean, they brought in both of those vets at Latavius Murray and
Freeman.
Yeah, Devonta Freeman. I think I think they definitely brought some value to the team, but
I think
still in a situation where Lamar Jackson he's going to look for the pass, but he's going to give it a 3 count. If he doesn't see anything, he's going to go.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, you've seen plenty of games already against Lamar Jackson being a Steelers fan. So you definitely have seen, pretty much what his game is about and, kind of what his first, option is going to be. So yeah, that definitely should be some interesting matchups for the Ravens. So with that, we're going to move into the AFC South. First, we go with the Houston Texans. We got week 7 against the Raiders, week 13 against the Browns, week 15 against the Chiefs. I have to say, trading Deshaun Watson was something they had to do. But I actually kind of like this guy they drafted last year, Davis Mills. This guy came out there with really no expectations. And I think if you go back and look at his stats for the year, I think he something like 21 to 14 touchdown interception ratio. He did so much with that lack of talent on Houston. I think he might be a guy that they really need to try to build around. But what are your expectations for Houston? Are you expecting much from them this year, or
I don't expect a ton. I want them to do well. I think they have a lot of potential. I think, like you said, Davis Mills has a very high ceiling. I think he has a lot of room to grow in this league. I don't think they have the help that they need. They have three strong vets at wideout with Brandon Cooks, Philip Dorsett, and Chris Conley, but a lot of those guys are getting older, so they can't do the things that they could do before.
Sure.
Yeah. And I don't think they've done a lot for their defense to really kind of strengthen, but I think that's where they really kind of start to attack. They drafted Derek Stingley Jr. I think he was the highest defensive back taken out of LSU in
modern draft history. I believe you're right on that. Yeah. I mean, he's extremely talented, but I think they could have did something else in that situation. Maybe take one of those really good left tackles that were there. I mean, I think that probably would have been more value than maybe Derek Stingley Jr., who I really like, but he came off a down year last year with LSU.
Yeah, but I still think I honestly look for him to make a run for Rookie of the Year this year.
Ooh.
I think he has.
Okay.
I think he has the chance there.
Okay.
Houston's schedule. Unfortunately, the competition in the division is very tight. A lot of those teams are real close to each other.
Oh yeah.
That's one of those divisions like the AFC North where the competition is always very tight. You had all those years ago. You had the AFC East where the Patriots ran the division. No one could touch them. You're not seeing that especially in the AFC South.
Oh yeah, and it seems like one of those divisions where they kind of flip flop every other year. Who's going to win the division? Is it the Colts, the Titans? Houston was pretty good some years back. They were winning the division. So even Jacksonville. So you don't know what you're going to get year from year, but yeah, Houston, I don't expect much out of them. I think if they can get themselves to 5 or 6 wins, that's probably a pretty good year for them.
Yeah.
All right, so Houston's going down the crapper. We're not expecting much from them. All right, the Indianapolis Colts traded for Matt Ryan in the offseason. They seem to be pretty aggressive about improving their team. Traded for Yannick Ngakoue from the Raiders, and so with Matt Ryan as the QB now, I think that's their 5th different starter in 5 years to begin the year. What are you expecting out of the Colts? And they do play Kansas City week 3, Tennessee week 4, and Dallas week 13.
I look for the Colts to do well this year. I think bringing a guy like Matt Ryan in, who has had a moderately successful career in Atlanta, I think where they lack on their offense and their receiver core, I think they make up for it because they got 3 strong running backs. You got Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines, and Phillip Lindsay. Yeah. I think those 3 guys really make up for some of that weakness there in that receiving core.
Sure. So obviously, I guess Matt Ryan's going to have to really lean on those guys. Hines, I know, is a great receiving option out of the backfield. So week 13 against the Cowboys, that seems like that's an interesting matchup. You got Micah Parsons there on that defense. You think Matt Ryan and the boys are ready for a guy like that? You think they're going to be able to contain him?
I think they'll be able. I think that will be a very tight game to watch. I don't think they'll be able to beat them.
So you think Dallas gets that W?
I think Dallas gets that win. I really do. I just don't see. I don't see a strong enough season to make a playoff run for the Colts.
Well, that'll be a Sunday night football game, so that should be a good way for us to close out the weekend and get ready for the new week. I enjoy games like that. I rarely get to stay up and watch a whole Sunday night game anymore. You know what it's like getting up early, but that's one that maybe I might have to make an exception for and stay up and watch.
Yeah, definitely.
So next you got Jacksonville. They made some interesting choices in the draft. I can't say I was a big fan of them drafting Walker number 1 overall. I felt like one of the tackles or even Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan might have been a better choice. What did you think of that choice, and what do you see their outlook?
I definitely think Hutchinson would have been a stronger draft choice for them at number 1, but I'm not going to knock Trayvon Walker out of the conversation completely. I think he has a lot of potential to do well in this league. He's a very physical guy. I think I look for him to do fairly well this year. It's just it's the rest of that team around him that I don't trust. Yeah,
there seems to be some, he definitely, I think, comes in and is automatically, even as a rookie, probably the best defensive lineman they have. I personally don't think he was even the best Georgia defensive lineman drafted. I'm going to say that was Jordan Davis with the Eagles. That's just my opinion. I think he's going to be defensive rookie of the year. That's who I'm rolling with. But, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Walker's definitely going to make an impact. I don't expect him to be a Pro Bowl player his first year, but I think he's going to come in and improve that D-line, and he's really going to grow into, what they drafted him to be. So it's going to be fun to watch, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't think. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think, honestly, they're in their first 2 weeks, they're going up against Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan. Both guys who are with new teams. I think there is a chance if Trevor Lawrence can come out and play the way that we know Trevor Lawrence can play. I think there's a chance they can come out and beat both of those teams.
So if they come out with a split 1-1, you think that'd be a successful way to start the year?
Ultimately, I feel like they could come out 2-0, but it's that Colts team just worries me. I'm not worried about Washington.
Okay.
I don't look for that, but I think they could come out of those first 2 weeks 2-0 and really kind of use that momentum to carry them forward.
Okay. Yeah, no, I could definitely, get on board with that. I think, you bring up some good points about that. So, they might have some fun moments. I think Lawrence is going to definitely show why he was the number 1 pick this year. I think with a more stable coaching staff. Doug Peterson, who, for those who don't know, was the head coach of the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Philly special. We all loved it. That was great. I think he's going to be a good influence on Trevor Lawrence. And being a former QB, I think he knows the mind of a QB. So I think, if anything, that's, only the sky's the limit, just not this year. But they should have some fun games, though, I think. So, all right, with that, we're moving to the Tennessee Titans. Last year, they went through some issues with Derrick Henry being injured. They run this guy a lot. He's a monster. But maybe do you think should there be any concern about maybe lightening his workload a little bit? Do you think are they going to ride him for 300 carries this year, or do you think they lighten the load a little bit? Any thoughts on that?
I think they'll still ride him. I hope they don't, for his sake, especially coming off that injury last year. I want him. They need to really take that load off of him, and I think they have a chance to. I think picking up Robert Woods in the offseason, I think that definitely helps. Losing AJ Brown obviously and Julio Jones obviously doesn't give them much, but I think they really have a chance to do fairly well. They just need.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. But what about Treylon Burks? They drafted him in the first round, so to essentially be AJ Brown's replacement. Do you think he hits the ground running? Do you think he's going to be Tannehill's go-to guy, or do you envision him needing some time to adjust?
I think Tannehill has enough experience in this league. I think he can really get him to hit the ground running. And especially because a lot of these defenses are going to be looking for the run.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of chance for them to work him into that offense and really kind of take them where they need to be.
So it sounds like that was a good situation for him. I'm sure he would have loved to play with a guy like AJ, but I don't see them drafting him if AJ is still there. But with a strong running game, I think you're right. I think that's going to really help him. Tannehill's a pretty savvy guy. I don't think he's going to expect him to be AJ Brown, but have him excel at what he did best there at Arkansas. And from what I saw, that was catching touchdowns, whether it was in the red zone or whatever. He seems like he just likes to catch touchdowns. So,
yeah. And they have a very tough middle of the year, weeks 9 through 12, they're going up against Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrow. That's a tough thing for that defense to go through for 4 straight weeks.
Yeah, that's a bit of a gauntlet. So, no doubt about that. It seems like with some of these schedules this year, they really tried to run some teams through the ringer. So, I definitely agree. Do you think the rookie Malik Willis gets in there at all?
I was thinking about it. I think you could potentially see another situation where Ryan Tannehill comes out, has a couple rough games, they throw Malik Willis in there. I think there's a definite chance for it, but I'm pulling for Ryan Tannehill.
Okay. Yeah, he's been a nice story. He didn't quite pan out in Miami. But people got to give this guy a lot of credit. When he was in college at Texas A&M, he started as a wide receiver, got moved to quarterback. I think played 1 year at quarterback, had a really good year, and Miami drafts him. Maybe it was 2 years, but he was a wide receiver. So Tannehill, I think, has made the most of his career at this point due to the injuries and all that. I'd say I'd root for him too, but if Malik Willis makes that push, and shows that he's ready, I think they got to go with him. I think he provides so many more dimensions that teams would have to worry about.
Yeah, I think he brings more to the table. He's good on his feet and he's good in the air.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think he's going to be exciting to watch. Possibly in a year or two. I don't anticipate him playing this year, but crazier things have happened. So before we move on, I just want to say, everybody, thanks for watching. we're glad to have Dylan on today. He's like I said, he's a knowledgeable guy. He really knows his football. He's passionate about it, and I always like to have somebody else on here who can, doesn't have to agree with me, has their own opinion, and I think it's just giving you guys a more thorough experience with, hearing different people's perspectives, and he can see things I can't, and vice versa. So thanks for watching. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment. So with that, we're going to move on to the AFC West. A lot of big moves happened this offseason. That's the craziest offseason I think I can remember in my lifetime. I mean, as you mentioned, Russell Wilson now with the Broncos. Of course, my Raiders got Devontae Adams, arguably the best receiver in the NFL. Some people say DeAndre Hopkins. I wouldn't say no if they said that, but Devontae Adams, he's going to step in there. And him and Derek Carr haven't played together in the pros, but they did in college, had a great connection. I'm excited to see it. But the Broncos, what do you think? They got games against Seattle week 1. We know that's a revenge game. Week 14 against the Chiefs. Week 16 against the Rams. What are your thoughts on the Broncos?
I think they do well. I think they definitely, I think, will hit a wall there at the end of the season. I mean, their last 6 games are Baltimore, Kansas City, Arizona, the Rams, and then Kansas City again, and the Chargers.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very tough stretch to play, especially that late in the season where you're going places like Kansas City, Baltimore, where it's cold. And I think Russell Wilson, I think he can still power through it. He's played against a lot of these guys. He has the experience to do extremely well, especially in Denver.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just couldn't help but think, you get a guy like Russell Wilson. I mean, you're all in essentially, correct? I mean, you're not trading for him to just get you to the playoffs. You're making a serious run for the Super Bowl. But in that loaded AFC, are the Broncos a serious Super Bowl contender with Russell Wilson? Or do they have to do more?
Not a chance. They need to bolster that offense, and they really need to work on their defense. I mean, they didn't, other than Russell Wilson, they didn't make any major moves to bring in some decent talent.
Oh, yeah. And with trading Noah Fant in that trade to get Russell Wilson, I felt like they lost a big part of their possible identity on offense. And I mean, they've got these 3 receivers, Judy, you got Tim Patrick, and then you got Cortland Sutton, and you've tied a lot of money up in these guys. But, with Judy emerging, as a rookie, do you think maybe they try to take one of these guys like Patrick or Sutton possibly and maybe trade them for an asset on defense? Or what do you think? Or do you just roll with these 3 guys?
I think right now, you got a new quarterback. I think you roll with him this year.
Okay.
And I think you look to shop out 1 or 2 of them to bring in either a strong defense, a strong defensive presence, or maybe some more help in the offense. I mean, Russell Wilson's great on his feet, but if he's running from the defense every single play, I mean that's not going to help them at all.
He basically loses his value, his effectiveness if he's constantly on the run, which I feel like he's been for his entire professional career. Okay, so I mean the Broncos, I'm on board with you, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Vegas fan, but even with Russell Wilson, there's a lot of people hyping these guys up, but I still feel like they have so many other holes because they, did get up some valuable pieces player-wise in the trade, and with their draft, I don't know how much they addressed it. So, honestly, I would have them maybe as like maybe the 8th best team in the AFC, in my opinion, but I may be biased, but we'll see. I know he's going to really push those guys, but I just think they just lack talent in a lot of other places to make that serious run. So, we'll see. All right, so next you got KC, Kansas City Chiefs. They got a Week 4 matchup with Tampa Bay, Week 6 against the Bills, Week 13 against the Bengals. I think their NFL is always going to love Mahomes versus Brady. Young versus old. Both of them have a lot of charm and charisma. People like them. So Kansas City Chiefs trade away Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. Now they did get some good draft picks, drafted some good players. I hear the receiver Sky Moore they drafted. I hear some people really talking him up. What do you feeling the Chiefs are at this year? Are they still one of the top dogs in the AFC?
I definitely think they are still a top contender. I mean, they trade away Tyreek Hill. That's a huge loss for that offense. But you still have Travis Kelce, who's playing some of the best ball that he's played. Plus, they bring in Marquez Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay and Juju from Pittsburgh. I think that adds some youth and some speed. I think it starts to kind of balance out that loss of speed. I look for them. I look for that offense to do very well this year.
So maybe more balanced in the sense that they're not going to be living off the big plays with Tyreek Hill, taking off the top, off the defense and, killing them for, a huge gain, after the catch. But with guys like Schuster who, could play in the slot, and cover the middle of the field. And then Kelce, best tight end in the NFL. I have no problem saying it, and then Scantling, who I think could be utilized more than he was in Green Bay, could be a really sneaky pickup for them. So, yeah, I have to agree. They're right up there at the top, so, I think they let Tyrann Mathieu go, but they brought in another safety who I think was a better fit for them. So, yeah, I got to agree. They're still up there at the top. So, but that Tampa Bay game is going to be a fun one to watch, him and Tom Brady.
I think that game, and I think that Week 13 game, I think you're looking at a potential AFC Championship game right there.
Ooh. I mean, I couldn't argue with that because, I mean, that's what we had last year, right? Was that? Okay, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't really find fault in that. I mean, I'm really internally hoping that the Bills make it past the Chiefs, but, again, I can't really argue with that. So, yeah, the Chiefs are definitely going to be up there. They're still, part of the cream of the crop in the AFC. So, we'll see.
I still think you have to call into effect that, that's, like we said, that's probably the toughest division in football right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see them getting a 2-0 lead on any team in that division.
Yeah,
I mean, every team splits their matchup.
Ooh. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's just there's a lot of firepower going around, and a lot of people were commenting on just the overall amount of talent from around the NFL that seemed to end up in the AFC West this offseason. So, yeah, I'm definitely the whole division is going to be just crazy. So, all right. So with that. The Las Vegas Raiders, some people will say, they snuck into the playoffs last year, which I guess they kind of did, but there was other teams that had our opportunities, and unfortunately for them, they didn't, pull through. So Raiders lost a very, very close game against the Bengals. But like I said, they brought in Devontae Adams. So, of course, they gave up first, second-round draft pick. We didn't have any of those picks this year, but I felt like they still had a pretty good draft. The Raiders, what do you envision for them? What do you see? The new coaching staff, Josh McDaniels, seems like maybe he's matured more since his Denver days. Any expectations for them this year?
I love Josh McDaniels in Vegas. I think that's a fantastic fit for him. You saw what he did with Belichick in New England. I mean, he has a lot of potential to take this team to the playoffs.
Okay.
They do have a very tough schedule ahead of them.
Indeed.
But I think you got Week 15 back in New England for Josh McDaniels, I look for that to be a contender for one of the best games of the season.
Oh yeah, another Sunday night game. So yeah, and again, I'm not just saying it because I'm a Raider fan, but I do think that just with the emotion and all that, I think it's going to be just a knockout, drag-out game. Mac Jones, I think, is a really good young quarterback. I think as long as he tries to stay to his game and doesn't try to beat Tom Brady, I think he'll be fine. But yeah, I think that's going to be a great one. I'm really looking forward to the Rams game, Week 14. I feel like if we could play the Rams, and beat them in their own house in LA on Thursday night football, I think obviously at that point we'll know what kind of season they're having. But if we could beat a team like the Rams in prime time, I would be really happy.
Yeah, and honestly, with that game, I don't see a true home field advantage. I mean, because there's still a lot of Raiders fans in LA, there's not a lot of those guys out. You don't see packed stadiums with the Rams and the Chargers and those guys.
Yeah.
So I think there's a very even crowd base there for both sides. I think that will be a very, very good game to watch.
Well, I think the problem with LA fans is I think they'd rather be out surfing and cruising in cars than really watching a football game. So I can't really say they're the most hardcore fans. But yeah, the Raider fans, we still have them there in LA. But yeah, I'm trying to keep my expectations tempered. Because the Chargers are really talented. I mean, Herbert. I mean, I think at some point in the next year or two, he may surpass, Mahomes in the hierarchy, because I think he's just a more rounded quarterback than Mahomes is. And that's no disrespect to Holmes, but I think Herbert could really be, a guy that's, consistently slinging for 5,000 yards a year and not even blink an eye.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very tight, there's a close conversation there for a total for quarterbacks in this division. I mean, you got 4 arguably top 10 quarterbacks in one division.
Wow. I mean, who ever thought you'd say something like that? I mean, that seems like that's a Madden fantasy draft, you know what I mean? With 4 quarterbacks in the same division like that, and it happened in real life. So, I'm still thinking the Raiders can contend for one of the final wild card spots. But we don't know how the season's going to shake out, health wise and things like that. But the only thing I worry about is you go through all those fights in your division, just like the AFC North, and then you get to the playoffs and you got injuries and guys that are out because you threw everything at your division opponent, and then you get to the playoffs and maybe you don't make the run you wanted to because, you left everything on the table against your division.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be tough, though, but, I mean, it's going to be some fun games. I think Devontae Adams still has a, really good year for them, but it's not just Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. I think it's going to be really exciting times. And then you got the Chargers. We just said Herbert. What Chargers? Is this the year that they dethrone the Chiefs? Do they take the division this year? Does it all come together for them?
I think that's a very strong possibility. I think they still need to shore up that offense just a little bit. But I think they've trademarked the best defense in the division.
I mean, bringing in Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson from the Patriots, Maryland Terp, representing Maryland, but with guys like J.C. Jackson and Derwin James, Khalil Mack there opposite of Bosa. That's a pretty scary defense if everybody's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of breathing room for much of an offense. I mean, anyone you play, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're playing Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or whoever. I think you got 2 guys there coming from both ends who have such explosive speed coming off the line. I think you could arguably see them have the best defense this season. Yeah,
I mean, as much as it would pay me to see that, I think I have to agree. They're definitely going to be in contention for it. I'd say top 5 defense without a doubt. So, any game on their schedule that caught your eye? Any game that you think is really going to test where they're at this season?
I think honestly, I think it'll be that either the week 1 matchup against the Raiders or at the tail end of the season, week 17 against the Rams.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. And who knows? Maybe that week 17 that might be a game that really just tells you the team they are. And Battle of Los Angeles. And that's just going to be a fantastic game, I think. So, how we looking, Mr. Producer? Everything good? All right. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so I think we still got a couple minutes left. I think I'm going to stop right there, but I was just going to ask your thoughts on the off season, the draft, your expectations for this year. Do you want to give maybe your rookie of the year predictions, anything like that?
I thought it was a very strong draft class. I think defensively it came out a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Your top 3 picks were, most of your top 10 picks were defensive players. That's not something you see often. A lot of times you're seeing guys that are coming out. Trevor Lawrence's, the year, what was it, 2005, the year Manning, Rivers, and Roethlisberger came out of the same draft.
04, 05. Yeah, that was an amazing draft. But look, even this one with one guy, Pickett being the only first-round pick, I think a couple of these QBs could definitely make an impact down the road, just not this year. So, all right, let me ask you, offensive rookie of the year. I'm putting you on the spot.
That's a tough one, man. That's a very difficult question.
Well, okay, so let's see. What about maybe Olave, the receiver for the Saints? I know he's going to probably be a big part of their offense this year. I see him as kind of a popular name people were citing. You had a lot of receivers go in the first round, so I'm guessing it's most likely.
I think Olave can do it. I think Burks could do it. I think Burks has a chance. And honestly, a big part of the conversation you got to put in there is if Mitch Trubisky doesn't pan out, you could potentially put Kenny Pickett in that conversation as well.
I see where you're coming from because we don't know. I think once we see where all the pieces, the chips fall before the season, if Pickett's the starter, then I think you definitely got to put him in the conversation. I might have to go. Who was the receiver that? I'm going to go Drake London, the receiver that got drafted by the Falcons. I think he's going to be leaned on a lot by Mariota or possibly Desmond Ridder if Ridder comes out there and really impresses them. But I'm going to go with Drake London.
I like London. I do. I think he has a big chance to do it, but I think Burks and even you can't count out Breece Hall.
I completely forgot about him. I think he's going to be heavily involved in that offense, catching and running the ball. So that, folks, might be your offensive rookie of the year. See, that's why it's good to have guests on with knowledge, because regardless of what everybody thinks, I do not know everything. I know I'm a pretty, smart guy, and, but that's why you have people on, so, all right. So we got a couple minutes left. Defensive rookie of the year. I think this one might be a little easier to call. I'm going to go with Jordan Davis with the Eagles. I think he's going to play beside Fletcher Cox. And I think they're going to be a pretty dynamic duo. The guy is a monster with taking on blocks. I know he's a defensive tackle, but I think he's just going to make such an impact Helmer maybe Sauce for the Jets. One of them guys. But who do you think defensively, rookie of the year? I said we're going to make this our last point.
I think Thibodeau takes it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think. He's coming into a division that's not super strong. I think he has a chance. And honestly, I can't count out Aiden Hutchinson. I can't do it.
I respect both of those picks. I guess I was trying to be, a little outside the box. I don't know. I'm torn. I'd say, both of those guys. I'd say maybe Hutchinson or Davis. I think Hutchinson's going to come in there to Detroit and make a huge impact. And then maybe offensive rookie of the year, Jameson Williamson. He's coming off that injury, but if he teams up with Amon-Ra St. Brown with the Lions, Jared Goff might actually start looking like a legit quarterback.
I hope. I want him to do well. He's let me down a lot. He has let me down far too many times in the past.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the pitfalls of fantasy football, my friend. Fantasies are great until real life happens. So, with that, we're going to get ready to bring this to a close. I just want to thank so much, Dylan. We really appreciated having you on the show. Really loved your insight, and I hope again in the future we could have you on here, and especially as we get closer to the year, and then maybe as the season goes on, maybe we can bring you in and you can give us some more of your insight and everything. And we just really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I hope to be on here again soon.
It was awesome, everybody. That was Dylan joining Intercontinental Sports TV, the NFL talk show. I just hope that you all leave some comments. If you want to see him again, please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment so he can come back on this show, because my producer told me that if we don't get those likes, subscribes, and comments, he will not allow me to have friends on the show. And personally, I like it when people are on the show. I feel like it gives us some more to talk about. But with that, I'm going to pass it on to the one and only Donna Sports Entertainment, folks. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. This was a great show. I know y'all going to love it if you haven't seen it yet. Just want to shout out Laura. Thanks for watching and being a fan. Mitchell, my man Antmo, all you guys, I love you. And everybody, here's the Don. Have a good weekend.
Yes. That's the Big Mike himself. The big guy. I call him the big guy Mike. It is what it is. Dylan, thanks for showing up on this channel once again. We are about to wrap up the show tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the fantastic day. I call it Fire for Fire on Sunday. It's all about EPL. Yeah. It's all about English Premier League.
Y'all make sure you watch that.
Yeah, it's going to be live. Yeah, we're going to be doing a watch-along match about the match called EPL Last Day Drama Watch-Along. They call me the Don of Sport Entertainment. Let's do this. I'm going to wrap up here. I'm going to thank the big man himself. Thank the real guy that showed up for this show. Thank you all.
Thanks, Dylan. We appreciate you, brother.
We appreciate you all. Once again, this is Intercontinental Sports TV. All right, guys. We're going to sign out. We're going to get out of this place.
Go for the hat trick. Like, subscribe, comment.
Yes.
You want to see more content like today? You got to do it. We need it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye for now.
Have a good weekend.